I'm Lance Phillips. I am on day 3 of a 3-day juice cleanse. Don't do it. Absolutely don't do it unless you can completely fill your time with something to do. It's horrible.
I'm Josh Ryan, and thank you for that advice, Lance. I will not be doing a juice cleanse.
That's good, though. I mean, you lose a little bit of weight, but it's and I need to. I mean, my gravitational force on the earth has reached all-time highs.
You have been talking about that for the last
Yeah,
few
I've been
weeks.
really frustrated with it. So I'm on the verge, and I've started the road to losing 30 pounds.
Nice.
That's what I need to get down to.
Okay.
And it's funny because people look at me and are like, where do you have 30 pounds stored? It's all in the belly, baby.
Well, it means you have a handsome mug then, first of all. How many days in are you now?
This is of what? Juice cleanse?
Yeah.
3 days.
It's just full 3 days. So that
It's a 3-day juice cleanse. I'm 3rd day in.
Okay.
And it's just juice and water and non-caffeinated tea.
I'm definitely not going to do that.
Yesterday,
I
mean, it took some time. Like we had time to kind of sit down and just chillax for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was hangry big time.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I was big time hangry.
I can't live without milk, so I don't have to do it.
Lots of sports this weekend. Sports.
Yeah, local sports too.
Yeah.
Man. Very busy
Some
week.
big stuff this weekend. We'll start on the football field.
Good
Lloyd
idea.
Comp Barons, Holy Rosary Raiders. The Barons won the game 15-7, but, and we'll get into my prognostication of points for and against. But, Josh, did this really solidify that the Barons are the team to beat in the Wheatland Football League in 2017?
I think it does too, the start of the
Whoa.
season. I mean, they won the big match of the year so far. I mean, this was the most anticipated football team, or football game rather, we've had in the Border City in years. Easily.
There's other teams in the league, though.
There are other teams in the league, but these are the two best teams. And unless they perform poorly against a team out of Cold Lake, out of Bonneville, they're going to win the Wheatland Football League, or be highest ranked going into the playoffs anyway. Well, I think they're both offensively and defensively. They've shown their team to beat.
Bonneville had a pretty good showing this past weekend against Whitecourt, winning 48-14. Or sorry, 48-14. They beat Whitecourt. So I think Bonneville is going to be a force, and it's going to come down to these two teams playing on Friday. We're going to see, I believe, who is the best team in the Wheatland Football League. And let me put this out there, first of all, that I totally underestimated what Holy Rosary could do out there. I really underestimated it. The defense is stellar. The defense is really good. And Dante Tabacu, while I said he's inexperienced, I also said he has a ton of talent, played really well in his first real game in the Wheatland Football League. And don't count the Raiders out. That's a good team.
Definitely don't count
That's a
them
very
out.
good team. And like I said, I underestimated what they could do, and they proved a lot out there against a very good comp team. There's still work to be done on both sides, but I'm not sure that the Barons are going to be the team to beat. It really boils down to this Friday's game.
I think there's two things to remember there. One, Whitecourt's defense is not Holy Rosary's defense, which will make a big difference. Second thing there is, if the Barons are healthy, because I mean, Garrett Musgrave was coming off an ankle injury, so there's maybe a little bit of a mobility problem.
No, there was a mobility problem.
And if there's no mobility problem when they meet again, watch out, Raiders.
It's an ankle sprain, though, so you know what ankle sprains are like. They're not something that you easily get over. They can take time, and he was 60% maybe.
Yeah.
Like he ran the ball twice for about 5 yards both times. He didn't punt at all, and he just wasn't the same Garrett Musgrave. But I'm not sure. Well, it waits to be seen Friday.
I definitely want to see the rematch now. Rematch looks very good. Two teams have had too many rematches, it seems, over the last couple of weeks. The Pontiacs and the Bobcats, as I make Lance spit his water, unfortunately have played basically just each other over the past couple of weeks, and then with the split this past weekend. Lance, is 6 games in 2 weeks too many?
No, more. Have 20 games in 2 weeks. The great thing about this is there's a lot of rookies on both these teams.
Right.
These rookies are in a rivalry that they maybe knew nothing about coming into the season, and they've built this rivalry, and I think this should be a model for other AJHL teams. Like, hey, next year we're gonna schedule like 6 preseason games against this team because we want to create and foster this rivalry that we kind of have already. I mean, the one between the Pontiacs and Bobcats is outstanding. So keep it going. I mean, I think it's awesome. I think it's great.
I think the rivalry is great. I'll play devil's advocate though, in that
of course you will.
If you want to play, best prepare you can for the season, you need to maybe get a different look against certain teams. When you play the same team over and over again, sometimes you're not getting a new look against an opposing defense or a new look against a team that attacks a little bit differently.
But they're working on their systems. They're trying to set up systems. They're not worried about the system that the other team is doing or who they're trotting out. They're working on trying to get their system in place. Each team, you know what I mean? And the Pontiacs in their case played a ton of rookies over the preseason to really evaluate what they had. and going into the back half of their home and home for the regular season, still had 2 cuts to make.
True.
So they're still not fully evaluated.
That is one of the things that kind of helps out in this situation where there's literally so many players on the roster. You are essentially throwing different looks in, but still there's certain coaching styles that I think if you get a new look at, say, a Brooks or, say, a Whitecourt, that can play up a little bit in terms of teaching your own defense to adjust or teaching your own offense to adjust or giving your goaltender more shots on goal as well.
The AJHL should be like, that was amazing.
All right.
Let's try and
I'm all
let's
for
get
rivalry.
teams to try and schedule more exhibition games against teams that they may hate, because that's fantastic. It's good stuff, and you can be rest assured that as this goes forward throughout the year, these 2 teams are going to dislike each other more and more. And I'm not sure that we saw last year as much disdain that these 2 teams had for one another as we see right now.
That is definitely
true. That's fantastic. Let's move on to Rustlers soccer, why don't we? The Rustlers men's and women's soccer team have struggled, to say the least, this season. The women currently 0-4 with 0 goals against. The men currently 1-2-1 with a goal differential of -8. Josh, do these early season struggles that may carry on for the remainder of the season hurt the Rustlers in terms of recruiting for their soccer programs?
The key part of what you just said is may carry on. If that doesn't carry on, the men's team goes on a run, make the playoffs as the 3rd seed in the South. I don't think these early results I don't think these early results then have any impact on whether or not they have trouble recruiting. The women, on the other hand, have struggled over the past couple of years. They've had a hard time keeping players for more than 2 or 3 years, although they do have 2 fourth years now. And until they can get a couple more girls to stick around longer, they're going to have a hard time really getting out of this bottom feeder system they've had, bottom season style they've had.
Part of the issue, too, here is that you've got teams playing in Calgary, like CITL, who have a lot of really good players that aren't college-level players that are signing on to play for a semester. So they're essentially going to school for a semester so they can play soccer for CITL. And CITL crushed the women 6-0. So, and even the men are the same. Like, men beat the Rustlers 6-0 as well last weekend. On Friday. I can't even remember the day. Saturday. So, that is an unfair advantage to a lot of these teams. And while it's currently okay, I'm not sure that the ACAC should allow that kind of thing. You can't allow players to sign for, well, I guess Laura Popplestone kind of did that, though, basically. So.
I mean, she basically did. And you see that, unfortunately, in other sports,
shot myself
too.
in the foot.
You kind of did. You see that in basketball, too, where, I mean, another local guy, or another player that played locally was Jonathan Sappleton last year. He came in for 1/2 of the season.
Right.
Ultimately, Lakeland still has the ability to get international players the way SAIT does, even if they don't have the same recruiting power. And I think it's just the thing that the women's team needs to do is if they lose a bunch more games, they can't keep losing by 5-6 goals. If they lose 1-0 games, that will look a lot better.
Well, they should have lost 1-0 on Saturday, but they scored an own goal.
Right.
Which essentially they lost 2-0. But the women's team is going to make strides, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Something that hasn't made strides yet, unfortunately, and I don't know if it's going to make any strides in the near future, is the Flames Arena battle between the Flames ownership group and the city of Calgary. There's a dispute over who should pay what. The city announcing they're going to pay 1/3 of the fee. The Flames disputing that the city would actually be paying anything. But Lance, you're not a Calgarian or ex-Calgarian like I am, so I'm wondering if you think that public money should go towards funding for a new arena in this situation.
And normally I kind of like to come out with a straight answer to your question, but I'm going to kind of deviate a tiny bit because it depends is my answer. It depends. Is this arena going to be utilized for a lot of public events? In the event, and we don't really see this in Calgary, but in the event of a natural disaster, could this arena be used to house people for a short period of time? If the answers to those questions are yes, then yes, public money should be used. If the answers to those questions are no, this is specifically a Calgary Flames / Calgary Hitmen and other, teams playing in this arena, then there's no way public money should be used. In the way that arenas are utilized these days, public money needs to be used to some extent. It'd be great if the Flames could just fund their own project, but it's abundantly clear they either can't or they won't. One of the two, likely the latter.
Likely the latter. One thing I think to mention again, though, is not only is it, as you said, a place to house people when in trouble, like the flood that happened years ago, and certainly the
Superdome in New Orleans. Right. The Superdome in New Orleans housed people when Katrina blew through.
Exactly. Another thing to obviously look at would be the amount of business that comes in thanks to restaurants, people coming in to watch the games, all those sorts of things. There's the property tax involved as well that does go back towards the city. The thing that people keep forgetting about this, Calgary missed out on 34 concerts last year alone
that went to Edmonton. Right.
Just because of the building. Sure, that goes to the owner's pocketbooks, but that goes to the city as well, because that's a lot of people that will drive from out of town, stay in hotels, eat at restaurants, then go to that concert.
There's a massive economic issue here that's at stake for more than just the Flames, for the city, as you said. And I think what we have is two rich sides butting heads over a project that they should just be funding and figuring out a way to make it work.
Absolutely. The thing, and one final thought is that ultimately, it's not like these owners are like NFL owners, where they've held cities hostage. These owners have been in the community for a long time and have helped build hospitals and such.
Right.
So for them to have to pay all of the money ultimately by just getting a loan from the city and paying it back, I don't think is reasonable, and that's why I don't think there's going to be any answer soon.
No answer soon.
No.
UFC 215 recently held in Edmonton had a fight between Rick Glenn and Gavin Tucker. It didn't end well for Gavin Tucker. It did go the distance, though, Josh Ryan, and a decision was taken, a unanimous, dominant decision for Rick Glenn. The question here is, though, should this fight have been stopped earlier than it was?
I think that's an obvious yes in my mind, and we've had this kind of issue pop up recently before in the UFC. We've had a couple of deaths, unfortunately, in amateur fighting. I think it's because it's such a dangerous sport, ultimately, like any contact sport is going to be, that if there's ever a situation where a guy is too vulnerable or a gal is too vulnerable, you need to make safety the precaution and err on that side every time. And I think this is a pretty obvious case of they should have stopped the fight a lot earlier than they did.
How can you let a fight go on that long?
No.
You can, and we saw it with the recent death of the gentleman who was...
Haig, yes.
Yeah, Tim Haig, who recently died. And again, there's another one that shouldn't have gone on. And these officials need to be held accountable. You can't let a fight go... when a guy is getting pummeled like that, pummeled, and this sport is barbaric at the best of times. Like, it is barbaric at the best of times. You can't allow that kind of stuff to go on. And I think this really boils down to, this is an Alberta problem. This is not an Edmonton problem or a Lloyd. This is an Alberta problem because there's no provincial guidelines here, or no provincial legislation, for lack of a better term, that every municipality functions under the same umbrella. They're all functioning in different ways, and you can't have that. There's people's safety on the line here.
Absolutely, and I think why it's weird that they haven't gone and just kind of taken a look at other provincial guidelines, like in Toronto, in Ontario, where you've had a lot of UFC events, and they've had very specific guidelines about MMA in that province, and certainly in states as well. And unfortunately, I don't think this is a situation that's going to change soon until they do that.
Well, they've got to make a change, because you can't have this kind of stuff going on when guys could feasibly die in there. Yeah. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, and you have to take a long, hard look and be like, okay, after watching that disaster, something's got to give here. Something has to give.
Something does have to give, and we're going to jump from one contact sport to another, one of Lance's favorites, which is football in the CFL.
Love the CFL.
The league making a decision to remove full contact practices. Do you like this decision as a longtime football fan, CFL fan specifically?
I love this decision because there's more at stake than wins or losses on the football field. There's and I'm going back to health and safety. There's players' health on the line here, and we're seeing a lot of tackles made incorrectly. We're seeing a lot of things happening that are really making people question the game of football. And frankly, in the CFL, where you have players making way less than they are in the NFL, you have a lot of players questioning whether they want to come to the CFL with those health problems on the line. And I think this is a great first move, and I really hope that other leagues take the initiative to, like, okay, we like this, we're going to start doing this ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's very possible the NFL, if they see the health track of these players, then maybe they'll make that decision. I know it's not great TV, but I totally agree with everything you said. Ultimately, when there's ever head trauma or health of the players, you want to err on the side of caution. We ultimately see in hockey practices, guys don't hit full out in hockey practices either. Like, no one hits in a hockey practice the way they hit in a game. So why should that be the same case in football?
Right. And I made the point about a lot of tackles that weren't made correctly, and what I was going to get at there, and I didn't get to it, was the fact that not having these full contact practices won't really help that. It won't help any tackling practice that can occur. But what's more important, learning to tackle properly or not getting your head smashed in?
I'll take the previous anytime.
I mean, obviously, right? The former is definitely the case. And yeah, the NFL should look at this model and be like, That's a bold stance, Cotton, and we're gonna follow it.
Yeah, maybe they'll follow other elements of the CFL too in terms of their Twitter following that they've done this year. I've been really happy with the CFL on the way they've done social media and a few other things.
Well, I mean, having this new commissioner in, Randy Ambrosi, he's going to be big on this kind of thing. We've got more coming up. We're going to talk a little bit more about head hits. I've got that one of my things coming up down the road.
For sure.
Next up, Albert's on the desk, and he's full today. Totally
and a little
full.
hungover.
Yeah.
We're back, and the gloves are still off.
Check out the bird.
Sweet.
Well, he's actually a little more alert than he has been the last couple of weeks, but still
He needs a
pretty
juice
cleanse.
cleanse.
You should get him on that program. I'll start, as I suppose I usually do. At Go Rustlers, it's going to be an exciting season. They took a moment, though, to congratulate last year's 15 Rustler athletes recognized as National Scholar recipients. Amy Gostola, Jordan Strachuk, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Natasha Tchaikovsky from the soccer team as well, Travis Dow and Tessa Briscoe from curling, Brooklyn Bame, Avery Maginel, Chelsea Steinley, and Tawny Dupuis from women's volleyball as well.
Lots of volleyball in there.
Yeah, lots of volleyball, and I think that's one thing that people forget, just how much the academic side of it can really help an athletic program from a recruiting standpoint.
Not kidding.
And certainly goes over well with the upper-ups at the school.
I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
Ball don't lie at Yahoo BDL. Update. Lakers solidified plans to retire both of Kobe Bryant's numbers, number 8 and, of course, number 24. There's some large numbers in there.
Yeah.
There's some large numbers in there.
I
What's your take on that?
As
a basketball guy.
As a basketball, I've never been a big Kobe fan because I always kind of found him a ball hog. So this kind of makes sense.
He was a hell of a player, though.
Don't get me wrong. He's a great top 20, top 15 player of all time. But he was never one of my favorites. And this is typical of Kobe. Still ball hogging. Just number hogging now, I guess.
You've got mail.
It's the Lakers that are retiring it, not Kobe.
Well, it's Kobe. Just he's still got the Mamba mentality in retirement.
Says
If you watch
lives in LA.
This is from our good buddy Kinger at Kinger Chris. Hey Gloves TV and Lance Phillips TV. Remember when you said at Lloyd Comp Barons wouldn't score under 49 points this year? Holy D is legit. Great game. That's, of course, in reference to Friday. You haven't been wrong about something in a while, but you were pretty wrong on this one.
I was very wrong, but what I should have done is I should have had a caveat and say they will score that many points, provided Garrett Musgrave can stay healthy. Because I'm not saying Garrett Musgrave is the entire team, because he certainly isn't. There's a lot of great players in that team.
Yeah.
But not having him be able to run is a big deal. He essentially gives them a third running back, and he doesn't run and just run daintily. He goes for it, and not having him and the punting. We talked about the X factor
that earlier.
with the punting,
that's huge.
and he didn't punt as well, and that's a big deal. He can punt. I watched him punt the ball 60 yards in practice. Like he can hit it, and I still believe that going forward, if Garrett Musgrave's healthy,
there's
they will score
mail.
Even against the Raiders?
No.
We'll have to re-ask this question.
Against the Raiders again, if they meet in Wheatland Football League title, that's a tough one. I still think they'll score a ton of points, but I think the Raiders will score a ton of points as well.
Yeah, I think
just a shootout, just an old-fashioned shootout.
That would be an awesome league final, like 45-45.
I'll tell you, for people who weren't at that game on Friday, they missed out. That was incredible. It was a great showing, and we're going to get to that later.
Nice that a game finally lives up to the expectations too. At Golden Knights, as we've talked a lot about how great the Vegas Golden Knights Twitter handle has been this year. Final score: the Desert Team 9, along with the cactus emoji, and the Canadian Team 4, which was the Vancouver Canucks.
It's a witty thing. Like the Vegas Knights had a tweet that came out the other day that said, in the Canucks lineup, guy. So there were just no names; it was all guys, which is pretty good. Yeah. It's witty. I think you have to.
I really enjoy their account.
Field Yates at Field Yates. Gronk just caught the 69th TD of his career, probably his nicest yet. I love it.
I would love to have seen him in the post-game interviews talking about that. They didn't, unfortunately, have him available.
That was your 69th touchdown reception.
They didn't have him available, which is too bad.
Yeah,
I think the Patriots knew he would
probably be drinking beer and have women all around him talking about that.
Probably.
Greasy.
So this comes back to an earlier tweet. Kobe still hogging. from @MichaelGrange. So I'm not the only one who shares this opinion on Kobe Bryant.
You're the one that pulled the tweet out.
Mail.
You're just hating on LeBron, on Kobe.
I don't
Hate
hate.
on Kobe.
I said he's top 15 all time. I don't
Oh,
hate
this
him.
is great. Anthony F. Irwin, @Anthony Irwin LA. This is the new official GIF for when a joke goes over someone's head. That's missed. That's missed. How do you lose the ball that badly?
I don't think I've seen that before. Like even in a beer league game, I've never seen someone miss it that badly.
I don't know. I've seen some pretty good ones. I forget
Yeah.
who it was earlier this year, dove for a ball in the outfield and it was like 25 feet away from it when he dove. I forget who that was now.
But right over, it's like just being so casual, and then it's just not even close.
Yeah,
I've never seen
no.
that.
And he was looking up like he had it. Like Worth was up there like, I've got this. And yeah, I had no idea.
The look on his face says, oh no, this is going to exist on the internet
Yeah,
forever.
for a long time.
From this point off. From @O'Leary Chris, G. Roy Simon lost his wife in late April, and this is how he ended his Hall of Fame speech. And I'll try to read this quickly. To my late wife, Tracy, I wouldn't have had my career in BC without her when I got cut from the NFL. I was going to quit football and go and work for this small company called Under Armour that my friend started. She encouraged me to give it one last shot. She said, go see what happens. There's only a few games left in the season. I signed on the practice squad with the BC Lions. I was on the squad for one day, and you guys know the rest of the story. To my wife, I love you, I miss you, and will continue to carry on the Simon name in your honor.
That's incredible.
Awesome.
That's incredible.
Just awesome.
The guy may not have been the guy he is right now. Like he may not have been a CFL Hall of Fame quarterback. Or quarterback, pardon me, wide receiver. That's incredible.
And it's a nice opportunity to highlight the role that wives play in the number of these professional athletes.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing.
That's incredible. Onion Sports Network. Like if you're not following Onion Sports or even just the Onion in general, you are
Onion's
missing
pretty
out.
good. It's pretty good.
Onion's great. Onion Sport Network isn't as, they don't tweet as much, but when they do, it's usually golden.
Yeah.
NFL introduces new challenge flares. Like just, it's awesome. It's amazing.
I haven't really enjoyed watching the NFL over the last couple of years. I might tune in if they started using challenge flares.
Oh, could you imagine?
Imagine it getting lighting
shooting
up
them into the crowd,
and then it accidentally lights up the field, and they
like
have to
a
delay the
soccer
game
pitch.
for 30 minutes.
like a soccer game.
I think it'd be hilarious. And then people riot afterwards.
Oh.
It would be like a soccer game.
It totally would.
Of course, and a consistent favorite on the show at Jeopardy Sports. This QB is elite at throwing interceptions and looking like someone who shot his dog after doing so.
I would say Blake Bortles.
Well, that's not a bad guess, but who is Eli Manning?
Eli Manning, yes.
And Eli Manning, specifically the looking like he just shot his dog.
I read a thing saying that Eli Manning might be worn out. They're like 2 weeks into the season. Josh, this is incredible. We got one more.
One more.
Josh Donaldson's last 10 at bats. Home run, home run, home run, single, ground out, single, home run, double, single, home run. That's 5 home runs for you counting at home. 5. That's incredible what this guy has done. Like,
Wish it was happening earlier in the season.
yeah, I mean, injuries play a part, but
That's true.
he'll be back on track. I have no doubt that you sign the guy. Just sign him.
Absolutely.
If you can't score, you might as well drop the gloves.
Winner, loser. And Josh, normally I know I'm bugging you all the time about having so many losers, but today, my losers outnumber winners.
Oh, so we can be pessimistic together.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
good. Excellent. All right. Let's be negative Nancy's all show. I'm going to start with
Yeah,
what else?
please do.
A loser.
Okay.
This loser, boxing Judd, Adelaide Bird. For those who don't know who Adelaide Bird is, she was the judge who brought the sport of boxing into disrepute after the Canelo Triple G fight that happened last weekend. She scored the fight 118 to 110. The other 2 judges scored it much more tightly, and generally speaking, boxing analysts and boxing fans were lighting her up on Twitter and on TV and other forms of social media for making the fight that far away.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, and as a result, she has been suspended. She won't do a big title fight like that or a big fight like that for another year.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, you can agree with that, right?
Yep.
What I can't agree with is listening to Stephen A. Smith go on about it afterwards. Did you hear about that? Did you hear that rant?
I actually haven't heard any Stephen A. sound in about 3 weeks.
Oh, it was unbelievable. He ranted for about 2 minutes on the subject and just repeated the same thing over and over again. I don't know how she got this. I don't know how she got this number. She should not be allowed to do boxing again. She needs to be tested now. Like just the same thing. Like, how does this guy continue to get paid?
Test it, like steroids?
I don't know. He suggested that she needs to be drug tested. That's what he suggested.
Man, Stephen A. is a different animal altogether. Different animal.
Yeah. I'm going with a winner. I'm going to start with a winner.
Okay.
Followed up by a couple losers. But we're going to start with a winner. The winner is high school football in this region primarily.
Definitely.
Hundreds, and I mean hundreds of people were out at the recent game between the Lloyd Comp Barons and the Holy Rosary Raiders at Armstrong Field. And there was a Bobcats home opener that night. Mm-hmm. And that's impressive to see that there's that many people out supporting high school football, and it was a hell of a game. It was a hell of a game. And I hope that more people go out and support that type of thing. In Bonneville, they played their opener, the Voyageurs did, against Whitecourt, and the Pontiacs home opener was happening the same night. Pontiacs home opener was half filled. And likely, and from what I was told, is because many people were out watching these football games. I mean, that is great stuff. Not filling the arena at the RJ Lalonde is not great, but this high school football situation is excellent. Go out and support it. It's great ball. It's fun to watch. And especially in Lloydminster, these kids play ball long before they get to high school season, which means they're ready, which means they're good and they play well. And it's exciting to watch, and I hope more people will continue to do that.
And my hope as well is that when winter eventually hits us, I hope that the really extreme weather holds off until after the championship games. Yeah. I really do, because for how good these teams are and how promising the season could be, you'd love to see ideal conditions for them to play in. Do you want me to go positive now?
You can do whatever you like, my friend.
Okay, I will go slightly positive. Actually, more than slightly positive. Tennis Canada and Canadian tennis fans are winners this week. Over the weekend in Edmonton, we had a Davis Cup tie between Canada and India. Canada won 3-2 with Denis Shapovalov, the young new sensation in Canadian tennis, winning both of his singles matches. They also got to have a bit of a send-off for Daniel Nestor, who is retiring this year, the longtime doubles player for Canada. He got to win his match with Vasek Pospisil, and so as a result of that win in World Group, they're well positioned for next year. If they can get a healthy Milos Raonic back, I love this men's team going into Davis Cup matches next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal, right? And that's the key, though, is healthy.
Healthy is the big thing.
Healthy. He's constantly dealing with health issues, and he needs to get healthy.
Yeah.
I'm going with the loser.
Okay. I'm ready.
The loser is the CFL.
Okay.
And I'm talking specifically about head-to-head contact. We saw it recently, Argo's game against the Eskimos.
Right.
Matt Black, who's not that kind of player, hit Mike Riley head-to-head. And it wasn't a malicious hit, but it happened. Yep. Okay. Less than the game before that, Riley was hit by, it's the second time in 2 weeks that Riley's been hit in the head with no flag on the play. Yeah. We saw Jerome Messam in the Calgary Stampeders, BC Lions game. Jerome Messam was hit by Lions Micah Awe while he was down. So he went down and Awe came from behind and launched into his back. Yeah. And Messam bit through his lip. And he said afterwards his lip was actually sorer than his head was. The fact remains that he still hit him in the head. And earlier in that game, Awe hit Roy Finch, launched at him like a missile. The CFL has to start doling out fines for this kind of stuff. They have to start doling out suspensions regardless of whether there's a penalty called, and those fines and suspensions need to hit officials as well, because not calling penalties on these plays is total blasphemy. You have to protect players, and it doesn't matter what it takes. The CFL needs to review this stuff, and they need to start levying punishment. You can't have it.
And as soon as they start levying punishment, you know it's going to make an impact, because it's not like these guys can absorb those fines the same way NFL players can.
No, absolutely not. And make the fines relative to what they're made. So you're not like overfine. Well, actually, even at that, I don't even mind if they overfine them. I don't have a problem with that. Fine them as much as you want, as long as it gets us out of the game. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's my loser.
I think most people would think that's a loser. I'll just go one more winner, actually. Hockey fans in Alberta in general are winners because of the way this season is shaping up. The Edmonton Oilers and the Calgary Flames are both poised, I think, to compete not only for a division title, but possibly a Western Conference title and to be contenders for the Stanley Cup. Both teams have plenty of talent up front in terms of young guys. The Flames certainly have a very good D-core, but the Oilers are underrated, and the goaltending should be good as well. I think this is going to be the first time people can truly be excited about the Battle of Alberta since Theron Fleury scored in overtime in 1991. It's been a long time coming, but I'm happy to see this come back.
I'm not sure that Calgary can get that far. I really am not. But they do have some. I really like the Travis Hamonic pickup. Yeah, you know, that was a big one.
Their D is really solidified because of him.
Yeah, for sure. It's really good. Will they get good production goal? You'd like to hope they would, or hope they will rather, but it still remains to be seen. I'm going to go with the winner. I'm going to go with AJHL hockey. AJHL hockey is fantastic. For people who aren't watching it, just start watching it. It's very, very good. I'm not sure it's quite as good as its WHL counterpart, but for kids that are coming into this league, it has a ton to offer. Players like Spencer Fu, who played for the Pontiacs, players like Cale McCarr, who played for the Brooks Bandits, give kids hope who play in this league that they can go on to play pro. They really do. But the main thing that the AJHL offers is the opportunity to play NCAA Division I hockey on a scholarship while getting an incredible education. That is paramount. I believe for a lot of kids that if they reach the AJHL ranks, there's a high probability they're not going to play pro. I mean, even for that matter, a lot of kids in the WHL or the CHL. But you have to know when you're not going to play pro, and you have to know when it's time to get yourself a good education. And the AJHL provides that. It's a great segue into NCAA schools or even Canadian universities to play some hockey. And I think it's really good hockey, and I really like what this league has done over the last few years, and I really like where it's going.
Absolutely. I don't think I would disagree with the word you said, and I think it's shown by rivalries like we've seen earlier with the Pontiacs and the Bobcats that it's going to be exciting all year for those who decide to come in and join and watch it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's lots of great stories coming up. There's lots of there are other teams that are going to be great to come in and see. I mean, the Fort McMurray Oil Barons are without a doubt one of the better teams, and they're going to be an exciting team to come watch for sure. And
absolutely.
Yeah, I just really like what this league has to offer for sure.
And I'm excited for our next segment. Very excited.
Over under. That's right. I forgot about that.
We're back. You can keep your gloves on, but ours are off.
Over under, we ran this first with King or Chris when
we
he
did.
was in here, and it seemed to work out pretty well, so we decided we'd give it a little go.
I think all sports fans tend to enjoy over-unders. Definitely sports fanatics.
No, for sure. Do you want to start with the over or the under, or you want me to roll on here?
I could certainly start, but I'm okay with deferring.
Please go ahead.
Okay, all right, thank you. You're deferring to me, so I will go.
Please, yes.
Over-under, you're a Toronto area guy, so you're probably a fan of Austin Matthews. Over-under on how many goals Austin Matthews will score in the season opener. I have him at 1.5. Over-under.
Oh, that's tough.
He scored 4 goals in his rookie game last year.
That was an anomaly.
But is he going to get a multi-goal game?
I'm going to go with the under on this one. I don't think he'll score.
Really?
I don't think he'll score.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think he'll score. You're not going to pop off 4 goals again, that's for sure.
I think Austin Matthews is going to have an awesome season, and I think he's going to do very well this year. I think he's going to.
Are you taking the over/under on?
I'm going to take the over on that.
You think he's going to score at least 2 goals?
Yeah, I think he's going to have a 40, 50 goal season. I think he's going to be very, very good.
He had a 40 goal season a year ago.
But I'm talking like 48, 49, 50, like top 5 in the league. I don't know if he's going to challenge McDavid for a scoring title, but man, he's going to have a good year for the Leafs.
The Lloydminster Bobcats play a 60-game AJHL schedule.
Yes.
They will win 29.5 games this season, over or under.
What did they win again last year?
15.
20. Oh, man.
Essentially, will they go over or under 500?
Will they go over or under 500? I'm going to be an optimist for some reason and say over. I'm going to say just over. I'm going to say they're going to go 500.
Really?
They'll have shown just enough improvement in terms of returning guys. They'll still get solid goaltending, and they won't blow late game leads like they did last year.
I believe the goaltending is their biggest question mark. I'm going to take the over as well. I believe that they will
I thought you were going to take the under.
I believe they will finish just above 500.
Okay.
With the one caveat.
Yes.
That their goaltending has to be very good, and I'm not sure that it is very good.
It's not.
It's good.
It's definitely not Austin McGrath.
It's good. Clausen's good, but I don't know if he's not Austin McGrath. But I don't know if there's any goalies that are Austin McGrath in this league.
Yeah.
But they've improved a lot. I mean, watching them play the Pontiacs, they've definitely improved, and I think they'll be a 500 team. I believe they'll make the playoffs, but I can't give them anything beyond. I can't see them finishing above 4th in the league.
I can't
in the North, maybe 5th.
Again, I'm being very optimistic, saying like, oh yeah, they'll be over 500. But I'm going to go with 500. TFC has a chance to break the points record in the MLS, which is held by the LA Galaxy at 68. So setting the over/under at 68.5. What you got?
They will break it.
They will.
They will break it.
Okay. They're sitting at 62 right now.
Yeah, that's a hell of a team. That's a hell of a team. 5 games remaining.
5 games remaining.
They're no question. No question.
Basically, they have to win 3 out of 5.
Yeah, and I expect that they'll win 3, maybe 4 of those 5. and possibly draw in the other. So they will. That's a very good team. If that team doesn't win the MLS Cup this year,
it'll be a shock.
There's a major that's a major disappointment.
And that'll be such a bummer for those fans. They've been rewarded finally with a great team to cheer for, but
getting to the MLS Cup last year
was crazy for them.
Yeah, they need to win this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, the Blue Jays in 2018 will win 80.5 games. Over under.
Over.
You think they're going to go above 500?
If they re-sign, I guess that's with a caveat. If they re-sign Donaldson.
Well, they have Donaldson, basically. He's going to be there. He's arbitration.
If he's there, he's not traded away, he's still a Blue Jay. He's healthy. Sanchez doesn't have a blister. Stroman continues to pitch well. They will win over 80 games. I think there'll be a 90-plus win season.
Safe to say that Josh Donaldson's not going to be traded now.
Not
at this point in the season.
You were right on that one. I was wrong.
Yeah, but I'm going to take the over on this as well, and I'm going to take the over because I believe that they're going to have a lot of young guys come into the mix that are going to perform really, really well. I really like what Teoscar Hernandez has done with this team, and he could fill the gap when Jose Bautista's gone, because Jose Bautista is gone.
I was going to say that's another caveat. I'd love to see him not on the field for them next year.
Yeah, he won't be on the field.
Love to see him not on the field. Tom Brady was written off for being too old, and then he responded with a great game without key players. So going forward, times the rest of this season that he is written off for being too old again. Let's set it at 1.5.
Oh, the over. It happens all the time. even if they win games, even little things that happen within those games, they're still saying that. Yeah, over for sure. If you'd set that bar at 15, I might have taken the over.
I'm going to go under, actually, because I'm going to say he will be written off at least one more time. But I think the Patriots are going to have a great season and possibly win the Super Bowl. And as a result, there's only going to be one real moment where people go, oh no, what are we going to do about Tom Brady?
There's no way that you can write Tom Brady off at any point in time.
And yet we keep doing that over and over again.
I know, it's incredible what the guy does. Yeah. Okay,
yes.
Colin Kaepernick.
Yes, Colin Kaepernick.
Still remains unsigned.
He does.
Will go 4.5 more weeks without playing or being signed. Over under.
I really like this one. 4.5.
We do the Vegas line here. So
yeah, I'm going to say under. Because
I think he's going to go less than that.
I think within the next 3 weeks, someone will sign him because we've seen two things. One, a lot of injuries. And two, a lot of terrible quarterbacks.
A lot of poor quarterback
horrible
play.
quarterback
We saw
play.
some really poor quarterback
There's at least one team that at some point this year, despite all the stuff, all the political such and such, all of the media frenzy that surrounds him. He almost signed with Baltimore before apparently his girlfriend had posted something that moved the Baltimore management off of that. Yeah. I still think one team will pick him. I mean, we saw like Blake Bortles.
I'm not convinced this guy's going to get signed this year. I
mean,
really?
There's no. So you're taking the over.
Other than the Baltimore thing, there is absolutely no indication that any team is ready to pick this guy up, and I'm definitely taking the over on that. I am not convinced he gets signed this year.
Man.
Yeah,
it's
sad. It's sad because
there's so many horrible quarterbacks.
There's a lot, and he could be bad himself. I mean, he could come in and just be absolutely brutal. I don't believe that would be the case.
Can he really be much worse than what we've seen?
No,
so
not
far?
Some of those guys. Definitely not. No.
There's some really bad ones. Okay, I guess I got. Let's see what we go with here. Let's switch to basketball. I haven't talked a lot of basketball. Kyrie Irving, we've talked about he's going to be a Boston Celtic this year. That's a big trade. Definitely going to score more points than he did last year because he can have the ball up more. Let's set the over-under at 27.5. Points per game, yes. Which is much higher than his seasonal averages.
27.5 points per game.
27.5, which is going to put him among the league leaders.
I'm going to take the under on that. I think there's a ton of pressure, and he doesn't have the same supporting cast around him. I'm going to take the under. I don't believe that he can get that done. He will be close, but I don't think he'll be there. I would say he may score 24.
Interesting, because I actually would take the over, and here's why. One, he scored 25.2 points per game last year in a situation where LeBron has the ball all the time. The second part of that is Cleveland's the rest of their squad I actually don't think is necessarily that strong, whereas he does have a couple of really great players in the starting unit with him, like Al Horford, like Gordon Hayward. And I think because he's going to be given the green light to score, he's going to get into that 27-28 points per game range.
Well, that would be big for Boston if he can get there.
I mean, they need him to, basically. To win,
no,
they
do.
need him.
They definitely do, and I'm not convinced they even get there. Real quick, we'll bang one more out here.
Yes.
The Calgary Flames will pay 49.5% of their new arena's cost when it comes into effect.
Yes. Yes, I think they will.
You're right, they will.
Yeah.
They'll pay more than that. I'll take the over.
Yeah.
They're spending money, those guys.
Definitely.
We're back, and the gloves are still off.
Got kind of a dual block here coming up for you. A little what's bugging you, and we're going to talk about a quick subject before we end the show about Football Alberta.
Yes.
Let's start with what's bugging you, Josh. What is bugging you this week?
Well, I mean, it's been a very interesting week for me for what's bugging you.
Sure.
This specific thing, we're going to stick to sports.
Yeah.
This specifically is the continued existence of a few, but more than what should be, sexist male sports fans. That exists, that specifically watching football. So Beth Mullins became the first female play-by-play broadcaster in the history of the league over the weekend as he got to call a game. She's been very well received everywhere she's gone, and unfortunately the reaction to her from some people in the States has been negative. That has nothing to do with her. They haven't criticized her delivery or her voice or anything. They've simply just said, why is a woman on television? There's a program I listened to, the Dan Le Batard Show. The host shared a story of a friend of his that had told him, I can't watch this crap anymore, I gotta change channel. He thought he was referring to not liking the double language part, because some of the game was covered in English, some of it was covered in Spanish, because there was a lot of Latin American viewers in Florida. And when he said, well, you can turn away from this channel if you don't like the Latin stuff, the guy said, no, the broad. It sucks that still exists, where people won't watch something purely because it's a guy doing it or a woman doing it. And in sports, unfortunately, the only criticism that comes from that is towards a woman. And it's 2017, guys. This should stop. I don't think it is a large number, but it's still too large a number for people to not be okay with women doing or taking on roles in other workplaces than are typically occupied by women. There's a lot of great female broadcasters out there. And Beth Mullins, from what I've been able to tell, is very good at her job. And I hope that over the next couple of weeks, that stuff really dissipates and she continues to thrive in this business. And if we have more great female broadcasters, they get opportunities.
One major problem that we see right now in sports is that companies and sports broadcasting organizations are putting in people that aren't trained to perform a certain role.
Right.
And I'm not talking about Beth Mullins. I'm talking about Rex Ryan. So how could Beth Mullins look good when she's with Rex Ryan? I mean, Rex Ryan isn't trained. He has no training. They just slammed him in there, and he's brutal.
And it's not like
he's not helping. Yeah.
It's not like he looks good on TV.
No, he's hard to look at for sure. I think a lot of people are probably listening to this broadcast and watching it, and I bet you, subconsciously, Rex Ryan is the one that's actually creating the problems for them, because he is tough to listen to. He's tough to look at. And Beth Mullins, I've heard her on numerous occasions, is excellent. She's better than a lot of men that do the sport, a lot of men. And to me, it's very refreshing to hear a woman's voice doing that. It's very refreshing. It's a different tone. It's a different attitude. Everything about it is different. And people need to embrace it. Armchair quarterbacks need to get off their lazy boys, 300 pounds, go do some exercise, and start to adapt to what's happening here in the world. Because women are starting to do these things, and they're damn good at it too.
Yeah. I thought we would have been past that when Doris Burke became such a mainstay on NBA Final TV.
Yeah, we're not.
She's great at her job. And yet, for some reason, and maybe it's just football fans in particular, but we still have some progress
to make. It's just men who have so much progress to make, and you're so far behind, guys.
A certain group of men, not
for sure. It's a general statement, for sure.
Not all dudes, I guess.
My what's bugging you are Bonneville Pontiacs hockey fans. And I know that the Bonneville Pontiacs take a ton of pride in their fan base. And it's time that the Bonneville Pontiacs fans prove to them why they take a ton of pride in that fan base. Bonneville's home opener was this past Saturday, where the stadium, the RJ Lalonde Arena, was half full. Yeah, there was a football game going on. But there's also a football game going on in Lloydminster when the Civic Center was filled to capacity. Yeah, I understand that in 2016, Bonneville's population was just shy of 6,000. It's the smallest center for an AJHL hockey team in Alberta. Still, make the effort to go out and see this team. It's a good team. It has been a good team for a long time. It will continue to be a good team. They put so many hours into community service, more than U.S. universities do over the course of an entire year. Go out and support your team. Show them that you've got their back. Show these kids when they go out there, when the announcer's announcing their name, that they're not going out to just a few people clapping their hands. They're going out to cheers. They're going out to a fan base that appreciates the hard work that these kids do. Start to show support, Bonneville. That was nothing short of disgraceful that there weren't any, that the place was half full at their home opener. They need better representation, Josh. It's unacceptable in my mind, considering what that team has done for the community and what they will continue to do for the community years from now.
And that's all I was going to add, is that you've talked a lot about just how much work they've done in the community and how well the organization has held themselves to a good standard of community service, good reputation. It's not like these players are causing much of a ruckus in the community either. Like,
no, quite the contrary.
They've had a lot of good, this is cliche, but they've had a lot of good kids come through that.
They have. It's great. And it's not just me, puffing up the Pontiacs. I think they're a great organization, and I've spent time around them to realize that. And yeah, fans have got to show more support than that. That was not good. All right, let's quickly talk about Alberta football.
Sure,
Football Alberta.
Sure.
We're going to talk high school.
Yes.
Rankings for Week 3 came out recently for Football Alberta, and there are some discrepancies. And by discrepancies, I mean major discrepancies.
Yep.
The Lloyd Comp Barons are a Tier 2 team. Okay, so the Lloyd Comp Barons just played Week 1 of their football season, but yet in the rankings it shows that they're currently 3-0, which is obviously they're including exhibition games. Even if we are including exhibition games, I need someone to explain how the Lloyd Comp Barons are currently ranked 7th in Tier 2, and Foothills from Okotoks, who is 1-2, who just got beat by Rundle College, are still ranked number 1. How is that possible?
I don't know how that's possible. Do you mind if I run through some of these other ones?
No.
That are, and also,
I don't.
So Austin O'Brien, 2-1 out of Edmonton. They're ranked 3rd. Holy Trinity's ranked 2-0, and they're ranked 5th. Robert Thirsk is 0-0. They haven't played a game yet, and they're ranked ahead of the Barons, who not only 3-0, but beat a continuously, annually awesome team in Holy Rosary.
Right.
I don't understand. I mean, maybe there's some bias that will always happen because the larger city centers tend to get the benefit of the doubt.
And listen,
but that's crazy.
Let's take a look even at Tier 3 real quick.
Okay.
Holy Rosary's 0-4. They're including exhibition games in that. This is a team that went to the provincial championship the year before,
right,
and they're ranked behind teams that are 1-0. Like, give me a break here.
That doesn't
There's
make
no
sense.
way the Rosary Raiders should be ranked 7th as well.
I don't think so.
Fix it.
And we end on a negative note.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
See you next week.